Sydney. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Kalopsia podcast. I'm your host, Sydney, and thank you so much for joining me on the Kalopsia podcast today. If you're new here, this is basically just a podcast about life and lessons that we learn along the way as a 20-something-year-old or more or less. Anything goes, really. And this week, I kind of wanted to talk about friendships and building new friendships, building new meaningful relationships. So in the past, actually, I'm going to preface by saying that I'm dealing with some sort of like sinus something. I don't really know. My mom came to Boston for Thanksgiving and we went out into the world and got like tons of foliage to make these like beautiful like decorations for the house. I'll insert pictures. This is also being recorded, by the way, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It is on YouTube and I sometimes add little visual things if you want to check it out. But anyway, what I was saying is that we were using this foliage to decorate the house and make it really beautiful for Thanksgiving, Christmas, all of that jazz, right? Fall in general. But I'm literally allergic. Like I'm starting to think my fall allergies are worse than my spring allergies. Like I've never seen anything like it. I am like so congested. It's crazy. And I know it's allergies and not sickness because when I get sick, it is very particular. I wake up and like my nose is running like a tap and like my throat hurts. It's all like very regular and I know what it feels like. But I've never had anything like this. Like I'm on day 4 and I still can't breathe. I still wake up mouth breathing. It's actually terrible. It's a terrible way to live, but you know, it's okay. I'll make it through this. I'm so brave. But yeah, I thought I would preface that in case my voice like sounds weird or I look weird, whatever. We're also doing kind of a new setup for the background today. Let me know if you guys like it. I normally film like on my bed area. The key is here. I love my sunset lamps. I feel like it really adds to the whole Kalopsia pod. You know, we're in a pod, safety, you know, nice. There's no judgment here in this little pod. We're all together. And it's kind of just like a little safe comfort blanket. And I feel like that's what the sunset lamps provide for us. And so I just like kind of am playing around with like where to film because I love my room and I feel like it's a really cute space to film. I still have yet to get a camera charger, so I haven't been filming on the actual camera. So that'll come sometime in the next year. But yeah, this is kind of, I'm playing around with this little setup now. Let me know if you guys like it. I feel like my room is kind of on display, but I also really love this part of the room. If you couldn't tell, when I first moved into this room, I was at my peak of my obsession with Bella Hadid, and I still love her. Literally love her, love everything she does. You know, she's so vocal, an activist, a model, beautiful, you know, all of the above. She's amazing. I love her. But, you know, it's really evident with my little wall right behind me here. And like on this side, I've got some other images. I don't really know. I also have this bag. This is literally like so useless if you're not watching the video. I have this Longchamp bag that I bought on ThreadUp, and it's literally beautiful. Like, take a look at her. Take a look at her. Isn't she gorgeous? Isn't she gorgeous? And she's like floral. I don't really know how to explain. It's like a suede. I really don't know, but it was supposed to be like $340 or something. I got it for $40. So, not an ad, obviously. But, yeah, ThreadUp, if you haven't been, get to know. You know, if you don't know, get to know. Anyway, that's it with the prefaces, I think. I think that's all I had. Oh, also, one more. I didn't post an episode last week. I sincerely apologize, but I'm right here with you today. You know, my mom was in town. I never really had time to film. I hope you'll forgive me. You know, I really do. Because I love you. I hope you love me back. I'm sorry. I don't know where this goofy mood came from, but it's here, and I hope it's here to stay. But anyway, on to the actual topic of the week, right? Which is building new friendships and meaningful relationships. Now, I don't know if I've delved into this on the pod before, but I work at a coffee shop, right? And there are numerous locations of this coffee shop in my city. And I've been working at this one location for like 2.5 years. And guys, this is what also makes me believe in signs. The entire time, like last 4 months of me working there, I had this one sentence on repeat. I kid you not, on repeat in my mind. And it was like, yo no puedo trabajar en estas condiciones, or something like that. I was like, no puedo trabajar en estas condiciones, or something like that. I don't know if that was wrong grammar. It's basically me saying in Spanish, I cannot work in these conditions. I literally cannot work in these conditions constantly. It wasn't as though I was like having a conversation in my head leading up to this final, phrase. It was really like while I was there, I caught my mind, thinking that thought over and over and over. And I'm like, why in Spanish? I don't know. Why that particular sentence? I don't know. It wasn't even like I hate it here or like I'm sick of this. Like, no, it was that exact sentence over and over again. I don't know. And so eventually I transferred, right? I transferred to a new location of this, chain coffee shop store. And I was kind of nervous about it. Honestly, I wasn't that nervous, but I was like a little bit nervous because I am a Virgo and I like things to be a very particular way, and I have worked at that last location for over 2 years, so I know exactly how everything works. Every tiny little thing, I know where the salt goes, I know where the hot sauce goes, I know where the tiniest, the whisk, like I know I know exactly where to locate any item I would ever possibly need in that location. And I know all the people except towards the end, it was like a whole new cast, and I had gone through 3 seasons and I was like, okay, I'm sick of this. This is enough is enough. And so eventually I transferred and I was like, okay, you're not going to be as familiar, but it's going to be fine. We're going to make it through this. We're going to be fine. So I transferred, and what I didn't really anticipate, right, was the whole like starting to make new friends again. Because, I had my, friend group, if you will, at work for like a while by then at my last location. And now you're kind of tossing me into this totally new environment. It's almost like transferring schools where it's like, no one, and you kind of just have to hope that you'll make some good friends, And surprisingly, very, very much to my surprise, and also definitely credit to the staff at my new location, they are so welcoming, like so welcoming, way more welcoming than myself and the rest of my team at my last location, I must say, I must admit. But they were absolutely so welcoming, so gracious, and I love them. Honestly, I do. And I have found myself able to build new relationships at this new store way quicker than I ever possibly could have imagined. And never has anything like that happened to me before. To the point where it's like 1 month deep and like I'm like still excited to go to work and I have people to like gab to, Like I love to gab, I love gabbing. And it struck me like this past week that I have never really looked up the definition of gabbing, and I really hope I'm like using it correctly. But to me, gabbing represents I'm like presidential address. Gabbing to me means just chatting aimlessly, just chatting, and like sometimes with some giggling in there. We're gabbing. We're just gabbing at each other. Me and the staff, we love to gab. And I feel like me at my last location, when I first had joined their team, I was literally like the shyest little bean ever. And I had a job before, like going to that location. Sorry, okay. Just checking we're still recording. Yeah, basically, I had gone to this new job and I'd worked in the past. I had this job through my best friend's dad, and so grateful to him, got that like on my resume, that maybe helped me, but like it wasn't a real, it wasn't like a real thing. I think it was like a summer job. I was there for like 6 weeks. It wasn't anything real. So when I got to this new job, I was literally goody two shoes, terrified, can't do one single wrong move or else they'll fire me. I was like, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Like I cannot slip up. It was as though I was joining the army, honestly. Like the amount that I was anxious about messing up like any little thing. I was wearing my glasses during my shift. You guys, I wear glasses if you didn't know. And literally nobody knows because I never, ever wear them. Here, I'll put them on right now. I maybe wear them for class, like when I'm sitting like in the furthest row. These are them. And if you can't tell from afar, which you probably can't, I've had these glasses since freshman year of high school, also. Very much a side note, but I feel like it's really important for you to know as well. I've had these glasses since freshman year of high school. Almost lost them a week into having them. They were like $400. I don't know why. I don't know why. This is just the pair that my mother sought out for me, so that these were the ones for me. So they were like $400 glasses. Almost lost them at a party a week later. A week later. Anyway, this classmate found it literally in a trash bag. So I'll count my lucky stars. She's been with me 8 years later. We're still together. But yeah, I was at this new job wearing my glasses. I was like, I cannot miss a single detail. Mind you, I can see just fine. I can see pretty fine. But, just to show you to the point at which I was like so, so, so anxious. And I eventually made friends at this new location, but I feel like it took a while because I was so adamant to be this perfect, employee, which also was, a great thing, for my career at this location, or like at this cafe, restaurant, whatever you want to call it. But it didn't do me wonders in the whole social realm. And I feel like there's a huge difference between how I handled that store and how I'm handling this one. And of course, there's also the major difference of me knowing exactly how the store works, because it's different locations, but at the end of the day, the system is the same. And, I had some semi-mutuals, or like, what is it? Like, one of my old coworkers from one location like worked at this new one, but we weren't necessarily like besties, but like I kind of know the lay of the land, know the way things work, had picked up a shift there before. But there was definitely like a major difference, just in my way of moving around. And I feel like it's definitely shown in the friendships I've been able to build. That was crazy. Sorry, I just took a pause because I am basically on my own floor up here. And when anybody comes up here, I'm like, who is it? So I took a little pause. But I think I was just saying that I definitely saw a change when it came to this new store, and I've kind of just been thinking about what was the main difference, outside of the whole you already know this store, because going into a new place where no one is always going to be daunting, and it's always going to be a challenge trying to build relationships, and meaningful ones at that. And I feel like a major thing that helped me, in this new location was just showing up as my complete authentic self. And, I have many faces, if you will. Not to say multiple personalities, but there's different parts of your personality that show up at different times. For the first week, I would say I was pretty standoffish, but it was more so that I was kind of just collecting intel on like the flow of the store, energetically, if you will. So for that first week, I would say I was pretty, I would be like, hi, but for most of the time, I was kind of just listening. I was just kind of learning the environment without myself in it. And a lot of the times I feel like you can go into something full force and just like go and be like, hi, like, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Like, what do you do? What's this? Sometimes I've realized, at least, or I intuitively kind of worked with the fact that people need to get used to seeing you and get used to seeing your face, especially if you're going into a place where everybody knows each other. And so when I was going into this new store, and I also keep in mind, I've had new people come into my store, and my initial reaction is, who is this other person? There's us versus them. It's like, there's this new person. Everybody knows that there's this new person. We're like all just waiting to see how this new person is going to be, like how this new person's going to act, right? And a lot of the times, like my team and myself, sorry if I sound nasally, like it's starting again, but hopefully you can look past it if you love me. Yeah, so my team and myself would sometimes be, not to say rude, but we would just be like, who is this? Like, we don't know her. We don't know him. And a lot of the time, our initial reactions to them were totally off, and we ended up loving the person. It's literally just that we needed to get used to seeing them, because at first it's kind of like a shock. If you're going to work here full time, you go here all the time, and there's just a new fish in the sea. It's like, huh? Go back to, it's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You're messing with the system. So, my what is it called? Tactic at the very beginning was just let them get used to just seeing me in their space. I'm just gonna kind of lay low. And I also just lied to you. I actually lied just now. I did lay low after I had picked up the shift. Basically, nobody needs to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I transferred to this store September 6th, but I actually picked up a shift at this store like August like 16th or something, like 2 weeks prior to my like transferring there. And literally, I spiraled about this for weeks. I had been gabbing with one of the staff because we actually just really get along and he's one of my besties now. But we were talking and talking and talking, right? And then I just, at one point, I realized like the milks were different, that the way that we set them up at my previous store. And I was like, I'm going to change the milks or something. And he was like, yeah, do it, do it, do it. I changed the way that the milks were set up and literally was mortified. I was like, "Say, why would you do that? Like, Cindy, why would you do that? This isn't even your store. Like, literally, why would you do that? Like, how could you ever? Where did you get the audacity?" And I immediately regretted it. And I was so happy to see that they had changed it back by the time I transferred. And I was like, I don't know who did that. I literally don't know who did that. So that was kind of me causing a splash, if you will. But, it hasn't chased me. To this day, I'm not sure people know. I know that a few people know, but I'm not sure how many people know. And I'm happy with it being that way. Everything's changed back. It was probably changed back the next day. It's actually totally fine. So it's totally fine. That's the secret between you and me. But basically, I was just kind of observing, just kind of seeing the dynamics. Who seems to get along with who? How are we reacting to different stations? Because there's different stations within the store. What's just the flow? What's the flow of the store? What does it look like? After I kind of gathered my intel with that, then came the point where it's like, okay, I need to like create relationships here if I want to enjoy my day-to-day experience, at this store. If I want a great like work life, a huge part of that is your coworkers and how much you guys can have fun with the work you're doing or how much you can, just have meaningful conversations that might distract you from like the 8 hours passing by of you just routinely doing the same task again and again. So basically, I just kind of started asking people about themselves and, answering their questions when it came to and like information about myself. But I feel like a big part of my ability to make these relationships now that I didn't learn until much later at my previous location is that I was literally just being my complete self. And when I'm in a bad mood, I like shut down. Or when I'm really focused, I'll shut down. My face is like RBF, total RBF. And, I just do my thing. But then sometimes I literally just go like 0 to 100. And it's like, okay, now I'm feeling silly. Now I'm feeling so silly to the point where I don't even know how to handle myself. So I'm just going to talk your ear off. But I'm just talking your ear off because I'm feeling silly, Like you can totally ignore me right now. Like this is what I'll say to them. I am totally at times like a brain to mouth, like no filter. Like I'll just spill everything that's on my mind. Not necessarily like a trauma dumping like situation, not necessarily in that way. Literally, it's just like what is going through my mind is what's coming out of my mouth. And I feel like this has helped me not even just in the work, scheme, but also just in my like group work at school because I also made a friend, well, kind of like a friend, classmate, right? In one of my classes, my bio project lab. And I find that in that class too, we were kind of forced to get put into these groups where we were going to work on a project for the entire semester. And I was like, okay, I can see that everybody's like kind of feeling weird about this. I'm kind of an observant person. I'm like, everybody's acting really quiet. Like this could potentially be a really quiet group. But I was like, what if I just gab? Literally, what if I just start gabbing everybody's ears off? What if I just start chatting and just being so silly that it's like, if I get a chuckle, I've won. I've won. Because a chuckle is the seed to laughter and joy. A chuckle, a giggle. A giggle is everything. Just a little like, it's like, that was funny. That's all you need, you guys. That's all you need. And then literally like a friendship just like blooms. I swear to you. And that's what I did at this other location. I find that at least this works for me, it might be different for you, but a lot of the times, I've realized that a lot of my friendships, we don't always have the same interests or the same passions or the same, hobbies even, but a lot of the time, like, even if it's just on a humor level, on an energetic level, that goes way further than hobbies do sometimes. A lot of the time you can have a shared interest, but if you guys can't laugh together, cry together, suffer together, that's not gonna help you out. So what you might as well do is show up as that most authentic self from the very beginning and not just rely on possible, common interests. And I feel like that is like basically the opposite. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it's basically the exact opposite of what everybody will tell you. Where it's like find people who have common interests as you, which is true because you want to find people who have the same values as you and the same like morals as you. But you can also kind of reach those conclusions even if it's just in, your sense of humor, your way of being, or maybe your upbringing or any of those, And it all just starts with kind of letting loose and just kind of holding yourself in a more vulnerable setting. And I'm now reminding myself of this topic that I had wanted to talk about maybe like 6 months ago. I don't even know. But I had wanted to talk about this topic of vulnerability and I kind of scrapped it because I was like, I don't have enough information. But I find that vulnerability when it comes to the beginning of a friendship, relationship, whatever it may be, is what's going to take you the furthest when it comes to building these relationships. Because if you're not showing yourself, as your true self and you're just showing, glimpses or portraying yourself in a certain light or, putting on a certain mask to like make yourself seem to be this cool person or even this nerdy person or, theater, any of those like major clique groups that are kind of immediately, you know, identifiable as a facade because not any person is going to identify with a specific type of personality to a T. That's never going to happen. What's going to take you further and make you more approachable even is having that sort of duality of it all. Being this silly person but also like you having like a temper. Not to say that tempers are great, but if I'm taking myself as the example, I have these like tiny little silly little moods. And then sometimes I'm literally like, don't talk to me at all. Don't even look at me. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, don't even look at me right now. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I don't even know why I'm pissed, but I'm pissed. And sometimes that's just the way it crumbles. The cookie crumbles. So that's the way it crumbles. And yeah, I just feel like also having a lot of vulnerability, even just in the way that you present yourself, kind of showing all sides to yourself can allow for people who may align with that to come towards you. And I was talking to a friend about this last week, I believe, where it was just, it's so important to just show up with all sides of yourself, not just the ones that you think will align with that particular person, because you never know, maybe just your ability to have these multiple sides could align with someone else who has multiple sides, even if those sides aren't necessarily the same. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I feel like that was also like an interesting little topic. And I think that's all I have for you guys today. But I really, really encourage you guys to kind of lean into that whole aspect of, openness with your personality and, not being afraid to show these sides of yourself, even if you're like ashamed of one of the sides. I'm not ecstatic to have this RBF, nor am I ecstatic to, get really like anxious at times. I'm like, okay, this is not working. Like I can't do this right now or something like that. It's good to show all of these sides because it also invites trust, and trust is like the biggest foundation ever. If you are willing to show up as your authentic self, people know what to expect when they see you. They're not worried about you lying or maybe, hiding, information or anything like that. Like authenticity just breeds trust. And I feel like that's also like a major part of maybe what allowed me to build all these new meaningful relationships. And it's been such a joy. And I'm so thankful that I was able to build those relationships because honestly, it's honestly a conundrum to me still. I'm just really thankful and I'm glad that I am not dreading going to work every day now and not thinking to myself, no puedo trabajar en estas condiciones. That's a thing of the past. And I'm so happy. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. Also, if you want to check me out on Instagram, it's Kalopsia Pod or Sydney Jotita. If you want to follow me, SYDNEYDJOTITA for my personal one. If you want to follow Kalopsia Pod, you've already found it if you found this episode, but it's KALOPSIA podcast with Sydney. I said it wrong again, you guys. I say it wrong every time. Kalopsia Pod with Sydney, whatever, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and just Kalopsia Pod on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to, if you want to check me out. But also, you guys, if you have any topics that you want me to delve into, feel free to reach out. As well as constructive criticism, all of it, I welcome it all. And I'm really, really glad that you joined me today, and I hope you like the new setup. I think I really like it, and I think we'll keep it. And if you made it to the end with my nasally ass voice, thank you. Thank you. You are a real one, and you are appreciated. You are seen. You deserve all of the crowns in the world, all of the riches, all the golds, and all of the giggles. Because they're better than gold. Now I'm just chatting shit. I'm just gabbing. I'm in a gabbing mood. Okay. I'll leave you be. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.